So half the people running for the White House were absent from the campaign trail today for dramatically different reasons. Barack Obama flew to Hawaii to be at the side of his ailing grandmother. Sarah Palin, she was in St. Louis today off the campaign trail because she was being deposed. The GOP vice presidential candidate spent part of a precious Friday afternoon in a battleground state, but behind closed doors, giving sworn testimony, about her own possible ethics violations and abuses of power as Alaska governor. It's the first time she has answered questions about it under oath. You guys still think you got him right where you want him? Earlier this month, a bipartisan majority Republican Alaska legislative panel ruled that Palin abused her power as governor and violated state ethics laws by trying to get her former brother-in-law, Mike Wooten, fired from the state police force. Among her reported beefs with Wooten, alleged death threats against her family and Wooten's tasering his 10-year-old stepson. Remember that tasering thing? It's one of Palin's alleged motives for abusing her power by trying to get that trooper fired. Now, even if you've been half following this campaign, you sure know the media's name for this scandal.
She'll meet with an investigator for Alaska's State Personnel Board, which is looking into the Troopergate scandal.
Sarah Palin holds a rally in Pittsburgh just hours before her deposition in the so-called Troopergate case.
Sarah and Todd Palin will be deposed under oath in that so-called Troopergate case.
Yes, Troopergate. You want to know the only person who doesn't call it Troopergate?
On the trooper Wooten, if there's one thing that's followed you negatively.
Tasergate, right.
You call it Tasergate.
We sure do.
Troopergate, whatever.
Tasergate? What did tasering have to do with the firing of Public Safety Commissioner Walt Monaghan and the pressuring of him to fire that state trooper? This is important. Sarah Palin has said that she fired Walt Monaghan for a myriad of reasons, but she's always insisted it wasn't because he refused to fire Trooper Wooten, the one who did the tasering. But if the governor didn't fire the top guy because he wouldn't fire the tasering trooper, if that had nothing at all to do with her actions at all, then why would she call this thing Tasergate? That's like if George Bush referred to his terrorist surveillance program as the violation of the Fourth Amendment program, or if Richard Nixon had called Watergate secret slush fund and break into that guy's psychiatrist's office gate. If she wants us to believe she fired Walt Monaghan for budget reasons and not because she was mad about the taser thing, she should be rebranding this as Budgetgate. Shouldn't she? And what was probably a political miscalculation on the part of the McCain-Palin campaign, today's deposition for the governor is the result of an ethics complaint Palin filed against herself. She said she would prefer to cooperate with this investigation by the Personnel Board rather than the legislature's investigation, which already found her guilty. She did, after all, appoint the members of the Personnel Board. What she probably did not expect was that her Personnel Board would hire an actual bona fide independent counsel to do its investigating. He flew to St. Louis today to conduct separate interviews, today with Governor Palin and tomorrow with the first dude, Todd Palin. For hours during which she should have been campaigning, the governor could only release a statement through her lawyer. Quote, "She's been looking forward to this day. She would like to tell her story, and she'd like people to know the truth." Looking forward to this day. Really? Because if the Personnel Board finds Palin violated the law, we could be talking about censure, possibly impeachment, or if she perjures herself, jail time. It's funny what some folks look forward to. Joining us now from Anchorage is Democratic Alaska State Senator Hollis French. He was the project director for the Alaska Legislature's Troopergate investigation. Senator French, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure, Rachel. Nice to be here.
Governor Palin has just released a statement, which I just got, and it says, I am so pleased to have finally gotten the chance to tell what really happened and get the truth out. It was the right thing to do to bring this before the Personnel Board and have a true arm's-length, unbiased, and apolitical investigator look into this. I read that as a direct shot at the investigation that you were part of in the legislature. What is your reaction to that?
Well, we've been taking shots about this ever since the governor was named as John McCain's vice presidential nominee. That's really the day that everything changed. Prior to that, the governor had pledged her unmitigated cooperation with any investigation. But the day she got nominated was the day that they decided that the legislature didn't have the power to investigate, and they wanted to shift it over to this Personnel Board group.
Did they want it to shift it to the Personnel Board because of some jurisdictional concern about the type of violations that were being investigated, or was it because she appointed the Personnel Board?
Well, they claimed that the jurisdiction was with the Personnel Board and wound up filing lawsuits claiming that wound up arguing that the legislature just didn't have the authority to investigate the executive branch, which really goes against 200 years of history, both in the federal system and in the state system. Every legislature has the power to look into wrongdoings, alleged wrongdoings, by the executive branch. What it looked like to us was that they simply could see that we were on a fast track to get this investigation done before Election Day, and they believed that the Personnel Board would take longer.
Do you think that the Personnel Board will issue their ruling before Election Day? As far as I understand it from the reporting that I've seen, these depositions with Governor Palin and her husband may be sort of the last steps in this investigation because so much work has already been done looking into this. Is that your sense?
Well, it's hard to say. My guess is that he will not get everything done. But it's worth pointing out that all the work that Mr. Branchflower did has been turned over to Mr. Bituminous. He's the Personnel Board examiner, the guy that talked to the governor today and will talk to Todd Palin tomorrow. He's gotten the benefit of the enormous amount of work that Mr. Branchflower did. Now, if that's not arm's length work, if that's not reliable work, then he should reject it and start again. But my guess is that he'll find that the facts are the facts no matter who does the investigating. It really doesn't matter who asks the question. You can't change the facts, and I'd be surprised if he came to a different conclusion.
Has Governor Palin or the McCain-Palin campaign started to set up Mr. Bituminous or the Personnel Board investigation at all for the kinds of shots that they took at you guys? Have they started planting the seeds of the idea that if they come out with a ruling that's unfavorable to the governor, there's some reason to question this investigation too?
We haven't seen that yet, but I would have loved to have been in the room today when the questions were asked of the governor, because as you mentioned leading up to this interview, there's some severe logical fallacies in their position. Take, for example, the idea that this trooper, Wooten, was a rogue, was dangerous, was a threat to the public. Well, why then was the governor reducing the size of her security detail? When Commissioner Monaghan asked Todd Palin, "Are you afraid of Wooten? Do you want more security?" he said no. When the head of the security detail went to the governor and said, "Do you want more security?" she said no. And in fact, they've reduced the size of that security detail to half what it was in the beginning. And even going beyond that, stop and think about what good does it do to fire a trooper if you really think he's dangerous? Do you think he's going to leave his job and suddenly be docile and happy about life because he's just been fired? It's likely to make him more dangerous. And finally, why didn't the governor do something about the policy she objected to, which is the trooper disciplinary policy? Why not come to the legislature and say, hey, I've got an idea to make the state of Alaska a better place and to do trooper disciplinary procedures in a better way. Let's change the law. Let's make a policy change that protects everyone. So I think there are many logical issues and logical problems with the way they've been portraying this case in the media.
State Senator Hollis French of Alaska, thank you very much for your time tonight. I appreciate it, sir.
Glad to do it. Have a good night.
Thank you.